We wanted to come to a place where, you know, you have independence and you rule over yourself, and that's basically what Orania is. You work for yourself. There's not a lot of labor like in the rest of the country available, but I mean, if that's the price for freedom, we take it.
Vi befinner oss just nu i Orania som är en liten småstad i Sydafrika. Det är en stad som grundades av afrikaners för att bevara deras sätt att leva och bibehålla en demografisk majoritet och vara i kontroll över sitt eget öde.
Orania is founded as a solution for Afrikaners, a new home for Afrikaners. And it's founded on the principles that if Afrikaners want to safely survive in South Africa but also wants to be free, there's certain requirements, and those requirements are that Afrikaners must demographically move to one area, have a demographic majority in a geographical area to preserve our culture, our heritage, our religion, and our ways of life.
Talking about freedom in a multicultural society to preserve one's own culture on one's own term isn't something the establishment appreciates, neither in South Africa nor in the Western world at large. Here they have chosen to move out into the wilderness to build their own way of life. And what provokes isn't just their pursuit of freedom, but the fact that it actually works. Orania has been more successful in creating a safe environment for its residents than the rest of South Africa. And this is where the problem lies for the establishment, the stark contrast to the rest of the country. Orania is safe for the same reason that multiculturalism is unsafe, an insight that many studies have pointed out. Multiculturalism destroys trust in society. And Orania clearly shows how trust can be regained, and it's precisely this safety that makes so many Afrikaners choose to move to Orania.
Die vryheid. Mens kan stap en jy kan gaan swem en jy het nie ouer toesig altyd nodig nie. Daar's nie regtig veel gevare nie, is nie mense wat steel nie. Daar is seker maar as baie min. Dis vry, jy kan doen wat jy wil.
It's very safe. You don't have to lock up your car or lock up your house. You know, in the rest of South Africa, you need to unlock the door in front of you and lock it again behind you. So, I don't know. I don't see that as freedom. And that's really what you can experience in Orania. And you've got people thinking and behaving the same as you because of the culture, and that's brilliant.
While I was in Orania finishing my book, Orania, Building a Nation, which is now complete and available where books are sold, British Channel 4 was also there filming a documentary titled Inside South Africa's Whites Only Town. And the premise was that it would be the first time a black person, the host, Ada Lepitan, would live in Orania for a week. Many journalists, especially from mainstream media, often come in with a predetermined conclusion that they then work to confirm. And the cliché about Orania is always the same, that it is a racist society that not only sees itself superior to the black population, but is also openly hostile towards them. Channel 4 used the same narrative approach, and when they couldn't find the material that matched their preconceived notions, they created it instead. Orania is actually a very pleasant place, even for journalists. But to create this antagonistic atmosphere that they wanted, they provoked it by entering a church meeting and filming people who didn't want to be filmed. And this led to them to being asked to leave the service. They then crafted their own narrative, portraying it as if the black reporter's life was in danger, all to reach the conclusion that Orania is not just a hateful place, but also a murderous place.
So we just got kicked out of church. It's not very neighbourly or godly. I thought this was all about friendliness and community. We just wanted to meet the pastor. But yeah, they have bouncers. They have bouncers at church here in Orania.
Nils goes back in to try and smooth things out.
You're not looking happy. There's not a smile on your face.
Not happy, no. No, we're not welcome anymore. I've just noticed that the bouncers are all armed with sidearms, so it might be a good idea to get out of here.
To me, they seem like racists.
No one's going to shoot someone outside the Church of God, surely.
Yeah. But I'm going to set aside my prejudices. I was surrounded by racist murderers from the apartheid regime. What kind of twisted thinking is that?
They crossed all boundaries of journalistic integrity in their fictional portrayal of one of the most peaceful and pleasant places I have ever visited.
I was surrounded by racist murderers from the apartheid regime.
The black podcaster Penn from the Penwell Show describes the people of Orania in a completely different way after he visited Orania with his team. Here's an excerpt from his conversation with the chairman Joost Strydom.
This is a harsh place, it's a harsh climate, it's a harsh and stubborn people.
Yeah.
And to live here is something else.
But friendly people, I can attest to that, very friendly. Everyone greets, everyone waves.
Yeah.
And it's very clean.
Unfortunately, many people accept journalists' narratives at face value, like Ada Betans, even when they are clearly malicious. In Orania, there is even a sign urging Western journalists to leave their prejudice at the door. Journalists try to influence Orania's future through their interpretative authority in storytelling. The one who formulates the question also determines how the problem is being perceived. And as a journalist, you have the privilege of asking the questions that guide how reality is being portrayed. And mainstream journalists often ask questions like, is Orania a racist utopia? How can Orania justify its existence? Is Orania a haven for murderous apartheid nostalgics?
But what is the justification for maintaining a separate ethnically community like Orania in a country that is striving really for unity and diversity?
Why should Orania continue to exist in a non-racial South Africa?
Racist murderers from the apartheid regime.
And the way you ask determines the answer you get. And without this agenda-driven reporting, journalists could have asked more open and curious questions such as, how does Orania preserve Afrikaner culture? Is Orania's model a solution to South Africa's problem with unemployment and crime? Could Orania be a model for self-governance?
Orania is a vryheidsbeweging, a movement, a freedom movement. And in the second place, it's unique because we are creating a lot of parallel institutions. We're saying we don't want the state's money, so we're not taking it because we want to make our own decisions. And secondly, we are going to use our own resources to create our own future and our own reality. And that also includes having things like our own public holidays. We celebrate public holidays that's important to us. We have our own flag and our own symbols. We have our own so-called currency, a local system that we use for trade. Which is a confirmation of our local independence.
The Ora is both a practical and a symbolic entity or sort of development tool for Orania. On a symbolic level, it represents our community's identity, the fact that we use our own money, so to call it. On a practical level, it helps circulating money within the community itself. It gives preference to payment for transactions for goods and services within the community rather than have this money flowing out. I think the big challenge is that people became used to so-called national currencies. And that the idea of a local currency based on a local initiative, local trust, local economic activity is a new concept for many. So we had to get people to trust it, to make use of it, and to really take ownership. That have happened in Orania.
The Orania strategy has always been the following. We create de facto realities and the de jure legal things follows later. We're not doing anything illegal, but we create realities which no one can deny. So what we do is, rather than making a lot of political noise and screaming against the void and telling the ANC how wrong they are or how much we deserve to be free, is we create realities. Sometimes it's small steps, things like the Ora, things like our own flag, things like starting Orasol to become more energy independent. All of those little steps are realities that no one can deny. And that's why Orania is growing. We're not focusing on a lot of political debates and arguments. We're going out and creating a reality. And obviously it's not perfect, but exactly from that, we have the option to learn from our mistakes. Because if the road to freedom only stays theoretical, only stays in debates, you will never be free.
Perhaps the most impressive thing about Orania is how foresighted the founders were in identifying the challenges they would face and how early they acted to address them. Their initiative makes me reflect on our own problems and how we should work to solve them. Because even though the situation in South Africa is far worse than in Sweden, we are approaching the Afrikaners reality, becoming a minority in our own country.
2002 var 85% av befolkningen i Sverige svenskar och 15% av annan etnisk bakgrund. 2018 hade svenskarna minskat till 75%. Och varje år kommer det hundratusentals människor till Sverige i en allt mer eskalerande takt. Journalisten Gunnar Sandelin har sammanställt på den digitala tidskriften Det goda samhället befolkningsförändringen de senaste 20 åren. Svenskar minskar inte bara i procent gentemot den utländska befolkningen utan vi blir även färre i faktiska tal. Och under samma tidsperiod har människor med utländsk bakgrund ökat med över 1,5 miljon. Om vi slår ut den här utländska befolkningen mot hyreshus med 24 lägenheter i varje hus som rymmer cirka 55 hyresgäster så blir det 27 272 hyreshus. Det krävs 1,5 Stockholm för att husera dessa människor. Eller 12 städer lika stora som Västerås.
Det är inte bara vita Europa, nej. Och.
It's our own establishment that has been the driving force behind many of the problems we face today. The same establishment that now proposes solutions that probably wouldn't have worked in the 80s when the problems were much smaller than they are today. And what we need are long-term solutions, whether we have political power or not. And the Afrikaners in South Africa don't have political power, yet they have managed to create a safe and secure existence in Orania. And they started as early as the 90s.
When Orania started in the 90s, most conservative Afrikaners were well assured and very certain that we're just going to take back the country. Yeah. It's just going to happen. Either the ANC is going to screw up everything and just, they're going to come back running, or we're going to, some people believe there will be a civil war in the 90s and we're going to win and take back the country. We can't give this country to this bunch of clowns, that kind of sentiment. And now a lot of Afrikaners believe it's just going to be fixed. It can't go any worse, We're going to vote and the DA is going to take over, or I don't know, Trump or someone is going to come and fix everything for us. That sentiment of we can't give up the country, we can't lose everything. Actually, the first thing that Oranians did already in the late 80s, early 90s, is to say we can't save everything. It's time to now do triage and decide what are we going to save. But there's no way we can take control or manage the entire country. We have to leave a lot behind and just focus on a small. And I'm saying there's a lot to conservative Europeans. I don't think they believe me. I'm saying you're going to lose your entire country. Rather focus on a small bit and save that. Because 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be in a situation where you lost everything and then you really have nothing. Rather leave some of your beautiful cities and stuff, which is already demographically changed so much. Leave it behind, consolidate, focus on one place, save that. Then you can maybe expand a little bit from there. But trying to save everything will slice you so thin. Maybe in Europe they're still in a bit of a better situation. In South Africa, 2 million Afrikaans-speaking whites, of which maybe half or even less is conservative, and many are leaving the country every month. There's just no way that we can actually make some kind of move to rule over more than just a little bit that we can in a country with more than 60 million people. It's just impossible. Demographically, it's impossible. Our biggest issue is demographics. So how do you solve it? You create a demographically friendly area. And rather than trying to save everything, just save something. Just consolidate and save something. I think that's the most important lesson from Orania. Trying to save everything will cost you everything. And I mean, the borders are so artificial internationally, but especially in South Africa. I mean, it's some British guy went and he drew the border like that, and now it's the border. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. So we must delete from our heads this idea of one South Africa, one country. It isn't a country, it's just some lines on a map.